studying environmental impact assessment. What is all it? So yeah, environmental impact assessment. A country's progress generally depends on economic development through activities such as manufacturing, trading, etc. Projects in the past were undertaken without any consideration to their environmental consequences. EIA जो है वो enable करता है decision makers को to analyze the effect on development activities on environment, if any, well before in developmental project is implemented. Concept of EIA. EIA is a tool which helps in evaluating the environmental impact of proposed developmental projects or program. ये ensure करता है mitigation strategies are also included in the plan and project under construction is environmentally sound and within limit capacity of assimilation and regeneration capacities of ecosystem. Objectives of EIA. Objectives क्या हैं EIA के? To serve as a primary environment clearance tool, consistently all proposals for potential environmental impacts. To suggest the use of scientific practices and strategies for mitigation to address all possible factors such as short-term, long-term, small-scale, large-scale, to include mechanisms for monitoring, auditing, evaluation. So यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा है कि ये सर्व करता है प्राइमरी क्लियरेंस टूल, कंसिस्टेंटली एक्सेस करते हैं ऑल प्रपोजल्स फॉर potential environmental impact assessment, to use scientific practice, strategies, mitigation, to address all possible factors, to include mechanism for monitoring, auditing, evaluation. ठीक है. So EIA in India. EIA was introduced in 1978 with respect to River Valley projects. EIA notification comes under the provision of Environment Protection Act 1986. EIA is now mandatory for red category projects. Other such categories as per notification of ministry released in 2016. So जो EIA है, it was introduced in India in 1978 with respect to River Valley projects. EIA की जो notification है वो आती है under provision of इन्वायरमेंट इम्पैक्ट असेसमेंट. कहाँ पर हुआ था, कब हुआ था? 1986 में हुआ था. EIA is now mandatory for red category projects and such categories as per notification of the ministry released in 2016, and these projects get environmental clearance only after EIA's requirement is fulfilled. So इन्हें environmental clearance तभी मिलता है जब EIA की requirement fulfill हो जाती है. EIA comes under notification on environment impact assessment of development projects. 1994 under provision of Environment Protection Act 1996. 1986. Fine. So EIA की जो notification है on environment impact assessment of developmental process projects 1994 under provision of Environment Protection Act 1986. Environment clearance. Environment clearance में क्या होता है कि environment clearance or go ahead signal is granted to Impact Assessment Agency in MOEFCC. All projects that require clearance from central government can broadly be categorized into industries, mining, thermal power plants, river valley projects, infrastructure and coastal regulation zone, nuclear power projects. Environmental components of EIA: air environment, noise, water environment. Then क्या है? Biological environment, land environment. So जैसे एयर एनवायरनमेंट में क्या है? क्वालिटी ऑफ एम्बिएंट एयर wind speed, direction, humidity, etc., quantity of emission likely from projects, impact of emission on the area, pollution control, desired air quality standards. The quality of ambient air, wind speed, direction, humidity, etc., quantity of emissions like the projects, impact of emission, pollution control, desired air quality standards. Noise, level of noise present and predicted, strategies for reducing noise pollution. ठीक है, और यहाँ पर क्या है, वाटर इन्वायरमेंट, एग्जिस्टिंग ग्राउंड एंड सरफेस वाटर रिसोर्सेज, their quality quantity within the zone, impact of proposed projects on water resources. Biological environment, flora and fauna in impact zone, potential damage due to the project due to effluent emission and landscaping. Biological stress या फिर production. Then land environment, study of soil characteristics, land use and drainage pattern and likely adverse impact of the project, impact on historical monuments and heritage sites. स्टेप क्या है इन EIA प्रोसेस? देखिए, सबसे पहले स्क्रीनिंग होती है, फिर स्कोपिंग एंड कंसिडरेशन ऑफ ऑल्टरनेटिव्स होता है, बेसलाइन डेटा कलेक्शन, impact prediction, assessment of alternatives, delineation of mitigation measures, environmental impact statements, public hearing, decision making, monitoring and implementation of environmental management plan. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर क्या है, स्क्रीनिंग, स्कोपिंग एंड कंसिडरेशन, ऑल्टरनेटिव्स, baseline data collection, impact prediction, assessment of alternatives, delineation of mitigation measures and environmental impact assessment. Screening. The project plan is screened for sale. The project plan is screened for scale of investment, location and type of development, and if project needs statutory clearance. Scoping. Project's potential impact, zone of impact, mitigation possibility and need for monitoring. EIA agency has to follow the published guidelines of Ministry of Environment and Forest of Government of India. तो स्कोपिंग मतलब होता है कि पोटेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट का पोटेंशियल इम्पैक्ट या जोन ऑफ इम्पैक्ट, मिटिगेशन पॉसिबिलिटीज एंड नीड फॉर मॉनिटरिंग. तो यह कलेक्शन ऑफ बेसलाइन डेटा, जो बेसलाइन डेटा है इन एनवायरमेंटल स्टेटस ऑफ स्टडी एरिया, इम्पैक्ट प्रेडिक्शन, पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव, रिवर्सिबल, इरिवर्सिबल, टेम्पररी एंड परमानेंट. Impacts need to be predicted, which presupposes a good understanding of project by assessment agency. Mitigation measures and EIA report. EIA report should include actions and steps for preventing, minimizing or bypassing the impacts or else the level of compensation for environmental damage or loss. Then it's public hearing. On completion of EIA report, public and environmental groups living close to project site may be informed and consulted. Decision making. Impact assessment authorities along with experts should consult project in charge along with consultant to take the final decision keeping in mind EIA and EMP. Monitoring and implementation of environment management plan. So various phases of implementation of project are monitored and risk assessment is done. Inventory analysis and hazard probability and index also form part of EIA procedure. Environment appraisal procedure in India. Once an application has been submitted by a project authority along with requisite documents specified in EIA notification, it is scrutinized by technical staff of ministry prior to placing it before environmental appraisal committees. So एक बार कोई application has been submitted by a project authority along with all the requisite documents specified in EIA notification, उसे scrutinize करा जाता है by technical staff of ministry prior to placing it before environment appraisal committees. है ना, तो पहले technical तो देखो कि सही है कि नहीं. तो फिर हम लोग सबमिट करी जाती है बाय प्रोजेक्ट अथॉरिटी अलॉन्ग विद ऑल रिक्विजिट डॉक्यूमेंट स्पेसिफाइड इन EIA notification. It is scrutinized by technical staff of ministry prior to placing it before environmental appraisal committees. जो अप्रेजल कमेटी है वो इवेलुएट करती है इम्पैक्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड ऑन डेटा फर्निश्ड बाय प्रोजेक्ट अथॉरिटी. इफ नेसेसरी site visits or the spot assessment of various environmental aspects are also undertaken. Based on such examination, जो committees हैं make recommendations for approval or rejection of projects which are then processed in ministry for approval or rejection. In case of specific projects such as mining, river valley, port, harbors, etc., a two-stage clearance procedure has been adopted whereby project authorities have to obtain site clearance before applying for environment clearance of the project. This is to ensure avoiding areas which are ecologically fragile and environmentally sensitive. In case project work complete, information has been submitted by project proponents, a decision is taken within 90 days. So this is to ensure avoiding areas which are ecologically fragile and environmentally sensitive. In case of projects जहाँ पर complete information has been submitted, the project proponent's decision is taken within 90 days. This was what environmental appraisal procedure in India. सबसे पहले हम एक एप्लीकेशन देते हैं, वो टेक्निकल स्टाफ पहले चेक करता है, उसके बाद एनवायरमेंटल अप्रेजल कमेटी चेक करती है. जो अप्रेजल कमेटी है वो इवेल्युएट करती है इम्पैक्ट ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट बेस्ड ऑन डेटा फर्निश्ड बाय प्रोजेक्ट्स अथॉरिटी. If necessary, site visits or on-the-spot assessment of various environmental aspects are also undertaken. Based on such examination, committees make recommendation for approval or rejection of the project. Committee recommend करती है कि हमें प्रोजेक्ट को अप्रूव करना है या नहीं करना है. ठीक है. उसके बाद आता है उसके बाद एक नेसेसरी वो साइट विजिट भी करते हैं. क्या करते हैं वो साइट विजिट करते हैं. ठीक. और बेस्ड ऑन दिस एग्जामिनेशन कमिटीज मे रिकमेंड फॉर अप्रूवल और रिजेक्शन ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट विच आर देन प्रोसेस्ड इन मिनिस्ट्री for approval or rejection. In case of site-specific projects as mining, river valley projects, port, harbors, two-stage clearance procedure has been adopted when the project authorities have on-site clearance before applying for environmental clearance of their projects. Monitoring. After considering all facets of project, environment clearance is accorded subject to implementation of stipulated environmental safeguards. So, after considering the facets of project, जो environment clearance है, it is accorded subject to implementation of stipulated environment safeguards. Monitoring of clear project is undertaken by 6 regional offices in ministry functioning at Shillong, भुवनेश्वर, चंडीगढ़, बैंगलोर, लखनऊ, भोपाल. शिलोंग, भुवनेश्वर, चंडीगढ़, बैंगलोर, लखनऊ, भोपाल. शिलोंग, भुवनेश्वर, चंडीगढ़, बैंगलोर, लखनऊ, भोपाल. शिलोंग, भुवनेश्वर, चंडीगढ़, बैंगलोर, लखनऊ, भोपाल. The primary objective of such procedure is to ensure adequacy of suggested safeguards and also to undertake mid-course correction required, if any. Main participants of EIA. So main participants of EIA कौन कौन है? EIA applies to public and private sections. 6 main players are those who propose the project, environment consultant who prepared EIA on behalf of project proponents, pollution control board, public has right to express their opinion, impact assessment agency, रीजनल सेंटर फॉर MOEFCC. सो जो प्रोजेक्ट को प्रपोज करते हैं, environment consultant who prepared EIA on behalf of project proponent, pollution control board, state or national. Then public has right to express their opinion. Public has right to express their opinion. Fine. 2006 में इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या था? EIA notification 2006 is to address the limitation of old EIA notification 1994. ठीक है. More number of projects brought within the purview of environmental clearance process. The revised list of projects and activities has been redrawn that require prior environmental clearance, doing away with categorization of process of projects requiring EIA based on investment. Now, size or capacity of project determines whether it is cleared by central or state government. Major difference in new EIA notification 2006 from earlier one is an attempt to decentralize the power of state government. हमने ना state government की जो power है उसे decentralize करने की कोशिश करी है. Earlier, all the projects under Schedule 1 went to central government for environmental clearance. However, as per new notification, a significant number of projects will go to state for clearance depending on size, capacity, area. EIA notification 2006 broadly divides all projects into two categories. Category A and Category B based on potential impact over the area and on human health and natural and man-made processes. All Category A projects with potentially significant impacts are carry out an EIA and undertake a public hearing before EC. May be granted by Union Environment Ministry. Category A के जो projects हैं, it include physical infrastructure whose size and cost is greater than certain minimum levels in the schedule. Environmental clearance of the projects are granted central level. Physical infrastructure includes projects in the port, highway, water, sanitation, urban transport, and solid waste management sectors. All new national highways are classified as Category A. In addition to expansion of national highways greater than 30 km minimum volume, land acquisition and passing through more than a site are categorized as Category A. Category B covers projects with lesser size or capacity and smaller impact than Category A. Category B projects with potentially less significant impacts are evaluated and given clearance by state level authorities, state environment impact assessment authorities, and state expert appraisal committee. Projects under Category B1 also require EIA and public consultation, but those falling under B2 are exempted from category requirement of both EIA and public consultation. The new notification also talks about scoping, which is completely missing earlier. Issue pertaining to draft EIA notification 2020. Now, post facto approval. The new draft allows for post facto approval for projects. It means that clearance for projects can be awarded even if they have started construction or have been in running phase without securing environmental clearance. Post facto approval is in derogation with fundamental principles of environmental jurisprudence and violation of precautionary principle, which is principle of environment sustainability. Public consultation process. The draft notification provides for reduction of time period from 30 to 20 days for public to submit their responses during public hearing for any application seeking environmental clearance. The danger is that if adequate time is not given for preparation of views, comments, suggestions to those who would be affected by the project, then such public hearing would not be meaningful. Unless a public hearing meaningful, the whole EIA process would lack transparency and credibility. Bypassing of EIA process. Through draft notification, central government gets the power to categorize projects as strategic. Once a project is considered as strategy, the draft notification states that no information related to such projects shall be placed in public domain. Further, draft notification states that the new construction projects up to 1,50,000 square meters instead of 20,000 square meters do not need detailed scrutiny by expert committee, nor do they need EIA studies and public consultation. Compliance report issue 2006 में जो notification आई थी, it requires कि project proponent submit report every 6 months showing they carry out activities as per terms on which permission has been given. However, the new draft requires the promoters to submit a report only once every year. ठीक है, पहले क्या होता था कि हर 6 महीने में. न्यू कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रीज 2016 बेस्ड ऑन पोल्यूशन लोड. हमने ना इंडस्ट्री को पोल्यूशन लोड के बेसिस पे न्यू कैटेगराइजेशन ऑफ इंडस्ट्रीज 2016 बेस्ड ऑन पोल्यूशन लोड. MOEFCC has developed the criteria for categorization of environment industrial sector on pollution index, which is function of emission, effluents, hazardous waste generated and consumption of resources. The new categories of white industry, which is practically non-polluting, will not require environmental clearance, and consent will help in getting finance from lending institution. Pollution index of any industrial sector is a number from 0 to 100. An increasing value of P1 denotes increasing degree of pollution load from industrial sector. Industrial sector having pollution score 60 and above, red category. Industrial sector having pollution index score 41 to 59, orange category. एक है red category. Red category, orange category, 41 to 59, then green category, and then white category. So industrial sector having pollution index score of 60 and above is red category, pollution index score of 41 to 59, orange category, 21 to 40 green category, above 20 white category. Screening. In the EIA notification released government in 2006, there is a lack of clarity in overall conductance of screening process. Screening process देख स्क्रीनिंग में क्या है कि EIA notification आई थी which is released by government in 2006. वहाँ पर lack of clarity होती है overall conductance of screening process. Sometimes जो EIA का report होता है it's too technical and often prepare lifting contents and data from other sources, thus presenting contradictory, inconsistent, and outdated information. Moreover, there is no process for punishing agencies. Moreover, there is no process for punishing the agencies. ठीक है, यहाँ पर क्या है कि there is no process for punishing the agencies involved in plagiarism and preparing such dishonest EIA report. Issues with EIA. Sometimes agencies or project proponents include incomplete surveys, improper demarcated EIA study areas, and publish unsubstantiated statements. तो issues with EIA क्या है कि sometimes जो agencies हैं या फिर project proponents हैं वो include करते हैं incomplete surveys, improperly demarcated EIA study areas, and publish unsubstantiated statements. Many agencies hire local and incompetent professionals at cheaper cost, which results into poor quality of EIA reports. So sometimes क्या होता है issue with EIA ये है कि sometimes agencies or project proponents include complete survey, improperly demarcated EIA study area, and publish unsubstantiated statements. बहुत सारी एजेंसी हायर करती है लोकल और इनकॉम्पिटेंट प्रोफेशनल्स एट अ चीपर कॉस्ट, जो कि रिजल्ट करता है इन पुअर क्वालिटी ऑफ EIA रिपोर्ट्स. जनरली local people are unaware of the process of EIA, its significance for them, role of various players, and their own rights and responsibilities. लोगों को तो पता ही नहीं है, इवन हम लोगों को भी कहाँ ही पता था EIA के बारे में unless we studied it for the exam, right? तो local people को कहाँ से ही पता होगा. उसके बाद they are also unable to comprehend the reports as reports are seldom published in local languages. तो रिपोर्ट्स में ना जो लैंग्वेज होती है दैट्स वेरी वेरी टेक्निकल, corruption and negligence of officials involved in public hearing committee. Then Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has published draft environmental impact assessment notification जो कि रिप्लेस करता है एग्जिस्टिंग EIA की नोटिफिकेशन को. 2006 brought under Environment Act 1986. तो फिर Environment Impact Assessment which replaces existing EIA notification 2006 brought under Environment Act 1986. तो यहाँ पर्टिकुलर्स EIA 1994, 2006 एंड 2020 में दोबारा आया. तो द पीरियड फॉर पब्लिक कंसल्टेशन यहाँ 30 डेज था, यहाँ 45 डेज हुआ था, यहाँ 40 डेज हुआ था. मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड प्रोजेक्ट ऑथराइजेशन टू मॉनिटर प्रोजेक्ट्स फॉर compliance with environmental norms every 6 months. Authorities to monitor project for compliance with environmental norms every 6 months. और 2020 में तो once a year हो गया. Then environmental clearance. Owners of providing environmental clearance for projects lay entirely on central government. There was no division of category for projects mentioned in Schedule 1. Then power was decentralized, wherein under the new notification the onus of providing environmental clearance for project was shared between central and state government. Project in Schedule 1 was divided into two categories. Category A project, a national level appraisal, and Category B project. उसके बाद यहाँ पर क्या है? Onus of providing environmental clearance of project was divided between central and state government as before. B1, B2 based on environmental impacts and spatial extent of the impacts. Environmental clearance projects, screening, public hearing, obtaining no objection certificates from the State Pollution Control Board, evaluation of application and recommendation. The process has to be completed within 90 days. जो project है उसका जो process है we need to complete it within 90 days. यहाँ पर क्या है? Screening, scoping, public hearing, appraisal. Category A projects would have mandatorily undertaking environmental clearance. There is no screening process for it. Category B projects would have to undergo screening to determine whether they belong to category B1 or B2. Category B2 is exempted from EIA, not applicable. Category A and B1 project करता है scoping, preparing draft environmental impact assessment report, public consultation, preparation of final EIA report, appraisal. Category B2 project requires appraisal have to be placed before the appraisal committee, which are environmentally management plan, verification of completeness, grant rejection, clearance. Category B2 which don't require appraisal would have to follow last two steps. An appeal can be made to National Green Tribunal against prior government clearance. Issues with provision of draft environmental impact assessment 2020. Public consultation. ये जो है it proposes reduce the public period of public consultation hearing maximum of 40 days and reduced from 30 to 20 days. The time provided for public to submit their response during public hearing for any application seeking environmental clearance. This can particularly pose a problem to those affected persons who are forest dwellers or otherwise do not have access to information and technologies, and those who are not aware of process itself. Unless a public hearing is meaningful, the whole EIA process would lack transparency and credibility. Wide discretionary power to government. It allows the central government to declare some areas as economically sensitive areas without public hearing or environmental clearance, and several red and orange classified toxic industries now operate as close to 0 to 5 किलोमीटर from protected area. So यहाँ पर हमने ना बहुत ज़्यादा वाइड डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर दे दी है गवर्नमेंट को, अगर तुम समझ रहे होगे तो. Then government also gets to decide the strategic tag for projects which no information on the subject shall be placed in the domain. This opens a window for summary clearance for project deemed strategic without having to explain why. Provision for post facto project clearance. Projects have to be commenced operation by the way construction, installation, excavation, production, etc. without obtaining necessary clearance can be legalized after payment of penalty to post facto clearance is the violation of fundamental principles of environmental jurisprudence and is contradictory to both precautionary principle as well as need for sustainable development. Extended period of clearance. The increased validity of environmental clearance for mining projects 50 years versus 30 years and River Valley project 15 years versus 10 years currently raises the risk of irreversibly environmental social health consequence on account of the project remain unnoticed for long. Exemptions. जो न्यू ड्राफ्ट है, it exempts long list of projects from public consultation and prior clearance. For example, linear projects such as road and pipeline in border areas will not require any public hearing, and inland waterways projects and expansion widening of highway include roads that cut through forest and dredging of major rivers will be exempted from prior clearances. Then comes baseline data. The latest EIA notification does away with need to carry out studies covering all season and year. This will lead to less reliable data and projects for pollutants affecting air and water. The end result of EIA will mask the full environmental impact of projects. Then comes private consultation. Consultation. The notification allows project proponents to engage in private consultants for preparing EIA report, propelling a situation where expertise and technicalities would be adopted to obscure the process and make it difficult to understand. Sometimes should have open and comprehensible to the communities for process to remotely transparent. Compliance report issuer. The draft notification reduce करती है frequency of compliance report required from project owners from once every 6 months to once a year. During this period, certain irreversible environmental, social and health consequences of the project go unnoticed. Conclusion. Various provisions of draft EIA aimed at facilitating government's doctrine of ease of doing business. Environment regulation must balance damage to the environment with sustainable development and possible benefits. Government must incorporate the concerns of all stakeholders before finalizing the regulation. So इसमें क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि how does draft EIA notification 2020 differs from the EIA notification of 2006? Fine.